Hey friend, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to learn how to live an intentional life or build their creative business. I'll be giving you my very best business tips, bringing you interesting guests, giving you a daily dose of Jesus, and I'm committed to always keeping it real. Grab a cup of coffee and let's dive in. I'm so honored that you're here. Hey, my friend, did you know I'm hosting my first annual business conference? I think that by saying those words, that basically means I'm signing on for another one next year. I'm not sure. But anyway, we are hosting the Equipped Women's Conference here in Kansas City. This is a conference that's focused on arming God's women to do business in God's way. This is here in my hometown of Kansas City, Missouri, and we are so excited to have you. We're going to have some incredible speakers like top podcast host Jamie Ivey of the Happy Hour podcast. We have author and coach Dr. Brian Dixon, Jenny Taylor of Jenny Does Grace for all of you that love MLMs and network marketing, and then Chastity Stemmons, who owns Homemaker and High Heels and is also my personal stylist. You are going to have an incredible 2 days filled with tons of encouragement, connections, and tangible action items for your business. And so if you need a pick-me-up in your business, if you need a pick-me-up in your faith, then this is a great event for you. I want you to grab a girlfriend and I want you to get ready to be equipped. Go to jenniferallwood.com/conference and I will see you in Kansas City in May. Well, hey there, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited to be doing an episode with you guys this week, and I'm just excited to be here. There's some things just moving and shaking, and I'm super stoked about it. So glad to be here. And we're going to talk about something interesting today that I think is going to hit on topic with a lot of my listeners. And that is about the topic of just kind of not fitting in. So last week I was on my Facebook page, and hopefully you follow me over there. If you don't, I miss you. Come find me. And I did a post. I was in like the middle of the woods with like a black leather jacket and a little tutu on, which I thought was kind of fitting. And the post was essentially just that nearly all of my life, I've had this just kind of weird underlying feeling that just that I don't really fit in anywhere. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's like this, I have tons of friends and people I love and people I could text and call right now. And so it's not that. It's more just an awareness, for lack of a better word, that I'm not sure kind of what group of people I belong to. Can anybody resonate? And here's why I'm actually doing the podcast. I'm doing the podcast because so many people resonated. So many people commented on that post. So many people shared it. So many people DM'd me on Instagram and sent me private messages. And I thought, you know what? I need to talk about this on a larger scale to a bigger audience because I think it's really important. And so that's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. But first, I just want to give a really quick shout out to Kristen at Busy Kids Happy Mom. So when you guys listen to this podcast and you go into iTunes and you leave a review, I see those. And those reviews make such a huge difference in getting us podcast sponsors, in where we rank on iTunes rankings. And so I want to give shout outs every single episode to the people that my fellow business owners who are leaving us a review, because I appreciate you so much. So I want you guys to go check out Kristen at Busy Kids Happy Mom. And here's what Kristen said. She said that Jennifer speaks right into the mind of a creative. Listening to her honesty, her biblical truth, and humor inspires me on a daily basis to just keep going in my business. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Well, Kristen, you are so welcome. And I just pray a blessing over your Busy Kids Happy Mom business. And just want to thank you for just being a really loyal listener. So there's that. So back to the topic. I first remember becoming aware of this, not sure where I fit in, back when I was like in high school, because I think that sometimes in our very human psyche, like we kind of like to know like where we fit, like in the card catalog of people and personalities and likes and dislikes and, you know, who are our people? Where do we fit in that? And I can remember an incident one day in high school. And by the way, that was a hot stinking minute ago. I'm about ready to have my 30-year class reunion. And so I can remember being in high school and I had my like tray of like mashed potatoes and open-faced hot turkey sandwich because school lunch was the bomb back then. And I can remember standing there with my tray one day and there being several like tables of students that were like, hey, Jen, come over here. And like, there's one table of the kids that were like, got really good grades. They were National Honor Society. They were super smart kids. And I remember thinking, gosh, I don't totally fit in with them. I was not smart enough to be National Honor Society, but yet smart enough to get a scholarship for my first year of college. You know what I mean? So I was like smart, but I wasn't super smart. And then I remember there was another table of kids, and these were like, the popular kids, for lack of a better word. And it was a lot of my friends that were like the homecoming queen candidates, and they were the prom queen candidates. And I was very close with all of them, but yet that wasn't me. And then I remember like another table of kids that was all of the like athletes. And while I was a decent athlete in high school, I played a lot of different sports. I was the best at softball by a long shot. So I was an all-conference softball player. I was a pitcher, fast pitcher. I loved it, but I wasn't like a good enough athlete to get an athletic scholarship or anything like that. Does that make sense? So I was like, okay, like I'm kind of average here and I'm kind of average there, but not outstanding in any one area. So I didn't feel like I could even label myself. Can anybody relate to that? This feels very vulnerable, by the way, to talk about. So I'm hoping that this is a blessing to someone. So again, I had plenty of friends, like I said, plenty of friends. Many of those close friends in high school I'm still very close with today. But then I became an adult. Right. And then I kind of even started noticing this in my adult life and working in a corporate world, just not sure where I fit in. I worked in several different corporate settings right out of college and into my late 20s. I had a pager, I had pantyhose, and you guys, I hated it. And I'm like, okay, clearly don't fit in with the 9-to-5 people because I want to be excited about the fact that I have a lanyard that gets me into certain rooms in the building. And yet like I could care less about it. And so I knew that those weren't my people. And then I started my own business. And when starting my own business, it became even more obvious to me that I just wasn't sure of where I fit in, because even in my work, I would think, well, okay, I'm not like that group of people, or I'm not quite like that group of people. I just always felt slightly outside of the groups in my industry or cliques of people or what have you. And I'm really hoping, by the way, that this story will bless someone and that they can relate to this. When I first started my decorative painting company, I can tell you that I just kind of felt a little bit like a fish going upstream. I felt just a little bit different than everybody else. It's like that old, what was that old show where we sang to our kids, like, one of these things is doing their own thing. Okay, Electric Company. Yes, there we go. And so I'd rather think of it as that instead of like, a black sheep of an industry or something. But I was different because I had a lot of small kids. And so I didn't go to a lot of events. I didn't go to a lot of classes. I didn't go to a lot of workshops. I didn't go to a lot of things because I felt like I needed to be home and present with my children the majority of the time. And we were really putting, my husband's job was for sure the priority, and that's okay. We were on board with that. There was also the fact that I was a born-again Christian in a creative, artistic space that often can be seen as kind of liberal. And so you have this born-again Christian girl who really doesn't go, to a lot of the same things as the other people in her industry. And then not to even mention that I started doing things differently in terms of, I began going into the online space really, really hard 5 or 6 years ago. And so, I didn't fit in with most of the people in my industry. And it wasn't like that it pained me. It's just that I was always kind of aware of it. So then I come into the online space, right? And I'm in the online space, and it's even the same for me here, my friends. And it's so okay. Here's what I want you to take away from this conversation. That if you are someone who is feeling like you do not know where you belong, girl, you are in a good position. You are in a good position for God to use you. You are in the right place. And that's what I want you to take away from this conversation, okay? So I come into the online space, and, you can kind of get a feel even in the online space for different people in your industry who are doing collaborations with one another, different groups of people working together over here. You see this like-minded group of people over here. And even here in the online space, there is a sense for me, a keen awareness that I'm not totally sure where I fit in here. Now listen, I have right now well over 2,000 entrepreneurs in my monthly coaching group for the Inner Circle. I have almost 700 people who just signed up for Creators Roadmap this year. I still work with the 800 that were in the last 2 years. So, I mean, I'm working with over 3,000 entrepreneurs a month, and these are very like-minded people. So it's not that. I'm in an awesome mastermind with Stu McLaren, the Impact Mastermind. I love those people. We are very like-minded, but there's still this sense of, okay, but I'm not like Martha Stewart. I do some crafts, but not Martha Stewart's crafts. Okay. I'm not a Joanna Gaines. Do I love to decorate? I absolutely do, but I'm not to that level. Do I love Jesus? Absolutely. But I'm no Beth Moore or Elisa Bevere either. You know what I mean? I'm like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so it still feels like to me, like, where do I belong and who are my people? And friends, this truth used to cause me a little bit of pain because I wanted to know where I fit. I wanted to know. But then in the last year or so, I've really had an aha moment that I want to share with you. And my aha moment for me was in the last year where God has really showed me that, Jen, you are never going to fit in with any one group of people, because what He has got me doing and what He's calling me to do, and perhaps what He's calling you to do, is going to be something very different than what we've seen thus far. And so I really want to encourage some of you who are listening to this podcast right now with that same thought. Perhaps you don't fit in because where God is taking you and what He's doing in and through you is different than what we've seen done. Now, listen, I know that it can be so tempting to think, especially in this online space, that the best way to build our business is by, linking arms with other people and developing relationships with certain groups of people. But listen, if you are feeling that way, and yet at your very core, you're like, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to change what I stand for. I don't want to change who I am. I don't want to, bend to fit in with a certain group of people. And yet I feel like that's what I'm going to have to do in order to build this business. Listen, girlfriend, I am telling you, you do not have to do that. You do not. God can literally elevate your business to levels beyond your very imagination, all on His own. And He doesn't need you to fit into any group of people in order for Him to do that. So for those of you who feel like outsiders, listen, I need you to know that so often you are God's insiders. You literally can't fit in because what He has for you to do, you have to stand out from the rest of them. You have to be set apart. And the one of the advantages of that, or one of the pluses of that, is that no one's ever going to be able to say that you got to where you are because of your connections or a group of people that you run with. God's going to get all the glory, because He is the one that seats you in those high places and no one else. So I want to encourage you today. I sense that there is a whole remnant of women out there who this is going to really resonate with. And if so, will you please leave us a comment on iTunes so that I know? But I want to encourage you to stand firm and don't think that you have to bend to fit in with any group of people. You don't have to compromise your morals, your convictions, your beliefs, or anything else. You don't need to kiss up to a group of people or hope and pray that they're going to include you or anything else. God will elevate you in your business on His own timing. He will bring to you exactly the people that you need. He will give you every resource that you need. And you fitting into a group of people is not required. And I hope somebody just got that down deep in their soul today. I really do. You fitting in with a group of people is not required. Now, is it awesome to have great business buddies? Oh my gosh, yes. Is it awesome to have a group of people that you can relate to and resonate with? Absolutely, yes. But do you need to feel like you fit in any one place? Absolutely, you do not. Okay? So with this being said, in thinking, really wish there was a group of people that I could fit in with, I've got to tell you what happened last year. So I was out on this WOG, right? And for those of you who are, middle-aged women who love mashed potatoes, you're going to get this. A WOG is a walk jog. So last year I was out on a WOG and I thought, okay, I need to turn off the M&M because Jesus. And I just wanted to run, right? And it's actually been a little over a year now. So I go out on this jog and I'm doing a little runny run. And I was thinking about how I had just gotten back from a business conference that had a lot of meat and potatoes in terms of business strategy. And I had some great takeaways in terms of doing things on an email list. I had some great takeaways in terms of things that I could do in marketing. And I just had some great takeaways. But I also remember that I left that conference and a number of other conferences that year with this incredible understanding and revelation that I was in a room with so many other business owners who were also learning incredible strategy, but at their very core, that what they believed was going to be the thing that, regardless of what they did with the strategy, they were still going to be stuck in their business. Okay, let me explain to you what I mean. I have been in many conferences in the last couple of years where I've had this incredible, oh my goodness, God, this would be such a great time for this business owner to talk about who God says their business is, or why they're still hung up on money issues, or why these women feel guilty about working when they have kids, or why these women feel guilty about making money. I've thought so many times in the conferences I've been to, okay, that is such a great strategy. I hope all these women in this room are getting it. But I'm looking at the faces of the women that are there, and I'm having this sinking suspicion that while they were getting great strategy, that their beliefs at their very core were what was keeping their business stuck. And when your business is stuck, or when you are stuck as a person who owns your business, I don't care how much strategy in the world you have to build your business, it is still going to remain stuck. And I can tell you, because I, in my business, have been stuck on multiple occasions. And it was not a strategy that took it to the next level. It was not a next email campaign that took it to the next level. It was not a better Facebook ad strategy. It was not a better, person on my team. None of that is what has built my business. It has always been believing who God says I am, doing what God's asking me to do, being very sensitive to the call of the Holy Spirit on my life, sensing what God's asking me to do next, saying no to the things that I sense He's asking me to, saying yes to the things I feel like He's wanting me to, even when I'm scared, etc. So listen, my friends, I'm out on this walk, right? So I'm walking. And I'm thinking just about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, I wish that there was a business conference that mixed faith with business. And then I literally had this sense. I heard the words in my head, "Tag girl, you're it." And I'm like, no, 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 no. By the way, how many of you have ever heard, it's not an audible voice of God, but it's that little thing that you hear in your mind when the woman at the cash register at the grocery store accidentally gives you back an extra 20 and you think to yourself, I should tell her. That's that voice. That's the Holy Spirit. And that I try to become, have tried so hard to be so sensitive to hearing. So while I'm out on my walk and I hear, well, tag girl, you're it. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. And this reminded me of this time. And several of you maybe have heard this story from me, but it reminded me of the time that I went away to college right out of high school. So I have for all of my life, not liked the idea of being the center of attention. I have not liked the idea of speaking in public. I have not liked the idea of being seen. How many of my fellow introverts can relate? Please go to iTunes and leave me a comment, okay? Let me give you a great example. We have two boys who are very athletic, play a lot of sports. We love going to their sporting events. So a perfect example is exactly this. When we will go to one of Noah's football games or Easton's basketball games, my husband, who's a complete extrovert, he'll just walk, right in front of a crowd of people, stands, packed. He'll walk right across the gymnasium floor while the game's going, whatever. Me, on the other hand, I will go up and around the entire building to go through a small side door where I can shimmy underneath the bleachers and go over to a spot where, I'm not having to make anybody move because heaven forbid I would, impose on anyone, and sit in a corner. This is the difference between my extroverted friends and us introverts. And so, I took speech my first year of college right out of high school, and I'm going to tell you why I did. I took speech because in my head, I was thinking, if I have to wait for 4 years and take speech as a senior in college, I literally will have nervous diarrhea for the next 4 years, just thinking about it. I will be it's going to be that nagging feeling. It's going to be that nagging thing that's looming over my head for the next 4 years, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take speech my first semester of college so that I never, ever, ever, ever have to speak in front of people again. I'm curious if any of you women know what I'm talking about. If any of you have ever said a vow like that you'll never, ever, ever that you'll never, ever, ever turn out like your family, that you'll never, ever, ever get yourself in a position where you are reliant on a man again. How many of you have said, I will never, ever, ever? I did. I said, I will never, ever speak again. And that's why I took college my first year, or speech class my first year of college. And so fast forward now, 30 years, and God's telling me I'm going to have a conference. And let me tell you, ladies, I wrestled with him about this because it is very much outside of my comfort zone. Last year in the online space, our revenue 5 times the year before. That's my comfort zone, being in the online space. Last year, I went from 700 people at the beginning of the year to like 2,500 people in my coaching group at one point. That's my comfort zone. Talking to creative women, coaching them on their businesses, that's my comfort zone. Standing up on a stage with everybody's eyeballs on me, not so much my comfort zone. But yet, I'm going to tell you something. I do know that there is such a need in the business industry for people of faith to come together. And so, with that being said, we are having a conference this year, my friends. It's called the Equipped Conference. And the reason it's called Equipped is because I believe that number one, whatever God's calling you to do in your business, he has A, either already equipped you, or B, is equipping you as you go. You're equipped. You are already able to do what God's asking you to do. And some of you have sensed for a long, long time that God's asking you to do something in your business, shift gears, change things, start a business, close a business, whatever. And I want you to know that there is a huge group of us out here who are like-minded, just like you. We're doing business that wants to be very faith-centered as well. We're also doing business where we put God first. And so if you feel like you are out on an island, like all by yourself, like an island in the stream, and let's take it all the way back to Dolly and who was that? Islands in the stream. Now we got to think about that. Kenny Rogers. Okay, so you are not an island in a stream. There is a group of us out here doing business who want to keep Jesus at the forefront, who want to build a business, but not at the expense of our families. We want to build a business, but we want to do it the right way. We want to make money and feel okay about it. We want to know what God says about the next step for us. We are interested in building relationships with like-minded entrepreneurs. I want you to know this conference is for you. It's for you women who love the Lord and want to run your business in a biblical manner. And so we're having a conference May 2nd and 3rd in Kansas City. Now listen, the VIP tickets are sold out for May 1st. Those are the people that will be actually coming to my home, but I will be meeting every single one of you at this conference. There are not going to be thousands of people unless God does something crazy in the next month here. And tickets are only on sale until the middle of April. So I want you to go right now to jenniferallwood.com/conference. And I want you to take a peek at the speakers that I've got coming to this conference because they are all incredible men and women of God. So we will have Jamie Ivey speaking at my conference. Jamie is the host of the Happy Hour podcast. She is a woman that is of such great, deep faith. She's an author. She travels and speaks at churches all over the place. Jamie will be speaking with us. Dr. Brian Dixon. Brian was a business coach of mine several years ago. He has an incredible testimony of a car accident that he was in as a teenager that should have literally taken his life. And for sure, he should not have been able to walk again. And yet Brian does, he does marathons. He's incredible. He is an amazing person in business in terms of helping you find out what your calling is in business, helping you get launched, helping you understand who your audience is. He will be speaking at the conference as well. We have Chastity Stimmons, who is a homemaker in high heels. Chastity is my personal stylist. You guys will remember her from many, many times when she's styled me. She's traveled with me. She is an incredible woman of God who is anointed in the faith. And she is going to be bringing a word for the women of faith at this conference that I'm super excited about. We also have Jenny Taylor who will be speaking. So Jenny Taylor owns the business Jenny Does Grace. Many of you might have seen me interview Jenny on my Creators Roadmap series recently when we launched that. Jenny is a 7-figure earner in the network marketing space. She is incredibly passionate about teaching women to walk in their purpose and run a business God's way. And so I can't wait for you to hear from Jenny. And Our MC, you guys, I'm so excited, is Hannah Keeley. And if you don't know Hannah, I've been on her podcast a couple of times. Hannah's been on mine a couple of times. This woman is hysterical. Literally, we get together and Hannah and I think, could just talk for hours. So we're going to be doing breakout sessions. There are prizes. There will be prayer. This is in a church, my friends. There's worship. Okay. So I want you to come expectant for God to work a miracle in your heart and a miracle in your business. We are meeting every single week right now, just laying this conference out, just laying it at the feet of Jesus and just saying, you know what your will be done and not ours, Lord. And so I want you to know that I want you there. So if you will go to jenniferallwood.com/conference, get a ticket, bring a friend. I cannot wait to meet you in Kansas City in May. So there you have it, my friends. If you've ever felt like you don't belong, I'm going to tell you that I'm putting together a conference for you. And there's a whole group of us out here who are like-minded in the faith and doing business. And we'd like to meet you and link arms with you. And I think this is so needed in the business space right now. So jenniferallwood.com/conference. Please drop me a line and let me know when you've signed up. Until next week, my friends, stay creative. And I'll see you in May. Bye-bye. Hey, friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you're here and that you just listen week in and week out and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, or if you're an Android user, go download the Stitcher app. And you could subscribe there so that you know every single week when a new episode releases. Also, if you have any time to leave us a review, these reviews are super important in getting guests for the show and sponsors for the show. And so we'd appreciate it if you have just a second to leave us a review. That would be amazing. Thank you guys again for being here. And until next week, stay creative.